Here, what we're going to be discussing today are all the CrossLink features that can help you run your successful tax business. In essence, we're going to review all of the features that you may or may not be using with the software. We'll be covering both desktop and online, our desktop 1040 software, the one that you install on your PC, and also our CrossLink online offering for those of you that are working with our online platform. We'll review both of those programs. And to start things off, let's just kick it off with what we have to offer you when it comes to mobile services. And mobile services, we're talking about all the things that you can do to contact customers mobilely, to use the software remotely, all those things. And to summarize the things that we're going to be covering here in a bit, we'll be covering TextLink Plus or TextLink, the ability to send text messages to your customers directly through the software. We'll see how that works. And not only that, not only are we going to review like all these features, but we're going to go step by step on how to activate, how to set up these functions. So if you want to use them, I'll be providing simple instructions and steps to do that. So TextLink, we'll see how that works and how you can set it up. Same thing for email. If you want to email through the software, we'll take a look at that. PayJunction payment processing, very interesting. If you want to be able to accept credit card payments from your customers, we'll take a look at how that works. And also sending remote invoices to your customers through PayJunction. We'll take a look at TaxPass app. If you're curious about receiving information from your customers remotely, we'll see how that works. And I should mention as well, CrossLink Online, for those of you that have been using the desktop software for a while now, we do have an online platform as well. So if you are looking to be more mobile, doing the conversion or the switch to online may be useful. So we'll make sure to look at that as well. So let's start off with TextLink Plus. And let me give you those easy instructions on how to use this service. Break it down into a few simple steps. So when it comes to TextLink Plus, if you want to be using it in your software, the good news is that it's already set up. There's no configuration that you have to do in order to activate or use this functionality. The only thing you really have to do is capture the necessary information for the taxpayer. And what we're talking about here is the taxpayer's cell phone or spouse's cell phone if you want to send a message to the spouse. There's a send or text checkbox that has to be selected on the client data. We'll look at these boxes here in detail in a bit, but I just want to break down the steps for you. And then cell phone carrier, that's an also important piece, also captured on the client data. You want to capture those three pieces of information. After you have that in the return, then it's just a matter of clicking the send text button. Both the desktop program have a send text button towards the top on the toolbar. And when it comes to online, also a send text message button or option. This is found next to your save icon or save button towards the very top of the return. So let's look at that real quick. Here I have the software open. And when we're on the client data, this is the desktop software, obviously. We're on the client data. The three important areas, again, are the cell phone right here. This little text message box may be easy to miss, but down below it's telling us checkbox if customer agrees to receive text messages. So that's exactly what we want to do. And then after that, this little pop-up appears just as a reminder of all the, small print fees text messaging rates may apply, all that stuff. No fees as far as we charge, but we can't speak to the cell phone carrier if there's fees for every text message they get. And then the cell phone carrier. Here it is right here, right next to that little box. We can choose from any of these cell phone carriers that we have already stored into the system by clicking on this choices button. And now with those three pieces of info, I can click on this send text button to send any message I want. And the same thing applies with, let me move over to online here. Same thing applies with online. Here's the CrossLink online platform. If we open this up and go to the client data, there's the cell phone, the little X for the text message, and the cell phone carrier. We have a choices option as well. If you click on these three dots, you can click on choices and see all of the cell phone carriers. You could also begin to just type in and the program will want to guess what auto fill what you want to select. And at the very top, we have that send text message button up top here. I should mention as well that once you send a message, you'll have a log of those messages. Here in CrossLink Online, you have this received text messages option towards the top, while with our desktop platform, we have it over here to the left under the attached forms. A whole, all that conversation that you've been having with the customer via text, you'll see it listed out here. So definitely a useful tool if you just want to send a quick communication, we're seeking something from the customer, you don't want to take the time to call. We have the tool to contact your customer directly right inside the return. Okay, so feel free to use that as long as you capture that important information from the customer. You'll be able to start using that functionality. So that's TextLink. Now, one thing I wanted to cover after that is email. This one is a little bit more complex, especially when it comes to desktop. If you want to be able to email your customers directly through the software, it does require a little bit of configuration, which we're going to take a look at here. Overall, though, here are the steps. Step one, in order to activate or use email with the desktop program, and I want to specify that this is desktop only. Thankfully, with the online software, it does not require this type of configuration. Our online platform is already has like email functionality built in without having to associate it with a Gmail to send emails. But with the desktop program, it still does require that Gmail connectivity, some sort of connection to a Gmail account. And the way you establish that connection is, first of all, going to myaccount.google.com, assuming that you already have a Gmail that you want to use with CrossLink. And then we're going to go to myaccount.google.com and generate an app password. That's the piece that we need to get in order to connect your CrossLink software to your Gmail account so that your CrossLink can communicate, can send emails through that Gmail. So once we establish that app password, you copy that password and you paste it into the software. I'll show you exactly where you can go. Here's the info. It's under setup, office setup, and email if you want to note that. But we're going to copy that password, enter it into the software, and then after that, you're good to go. You're ready to start sending emails through the software. So let's see what that looks like. Let me open up this Google area so you can see what that looks like. So once you log into myaccount.google.com, this just so happens to be mine, I'm going to go to the security option over here to the left. Under security, if we scroll down a little bit, we want to look for two-step verification. That's the piece that we need to, that's the area that we want to go into. And we want to make sure that two-step verification is turned on. That's one thing about being able to connect CrossLink with your Gmail. You have to have two-step verification turned on, meaning that, when you sign into this account, this Google account, it's typically going to send you a text message with a verification code, that type of idea, or you have to enter in a special code to be able to log in. But as long as you turn on to two-step verification, I'm going to click on that to basically, that's one of the things that could happen is, as you're modifying your security stuff, it'll ask you for your password again. Now that we're in two-step verification, if we scroll down, I already have it on. If you don't have it on, you do want to turn it on. And if you scroll down, this is the area, app passwords. This is where you want to go to generate one of those passwords that you're going to be pasting into the software. Here, I'm going to click on app passwords to create a new one. I've already got these old ones here, but I can create a new one. You can give it any name you want. I'm going to give it CrossLink, just to give it some way to identify what it is, and then click on create. And that's the code that we want to copy. Obviously, you're going to have your own unique code, but this is the code. I recommend just kind of leaving it on screen until you kind of finish this process, just in case you need to come back and copy it. But I'll select all that, copy that big code, and then in the software, going back into the software, here it is. We're going to go to Setup, Office Setup, first option, and then all the way to the end, Email. This is where you configure that password. You type in the Gmail in question that you want to use and paste in that password here. Lots of people think that the password that we should be typing in here is like the actual Gmail password, the password you use to log in to your Gmail, when in actuality, it's that password that we were talking about before, that app password that we just copied. So we paste it in there. All this SMTP stuff down below, you can blank that out if you happen to have something in there. It's set to use Gmail automatically, so you can leave it blank as you see it here. And then that's it. At that point, you can click on OK. And when we go into the return, let me open up a return here. Here's an example. When we open the return, well, let me get another thing here. I was hoping to get a tax return that was good to go. I'm sorry. Let me see if I have another one. I think this one. There we go. Now, if I go to my, let's say, print, I have the option to email if, here's something, a reminder. When you're wanting to email the customer through the software, we do want to capture the customer's email, right? That's why I wasn't able to see the email option appear. There we go. Now that we have an email in place, there we are. Now we have this email option that becomes available. When I click on that email, if I want to send an email to the customer, whether it's the tax return, whatever I'm printing out, so to speak, whatever PDF is being generated, I can establish a password, which is one of the regulations when it comes to the IRS. Whenever you're emailing anything with sensitive information, socials, things like that, the IRS dictates that they want to have a password. They want to protect that file, that document, electronic document, with some sort of password. By default, the program will set a password for that document that you're emailing by using the first four of the last name. In the case of this taxpayer, their last name is Smith, so I got those first four letters in there, and the last four of the social. That's the social of the taxpayer. That said, I can delete this if I was just testing it out. I don't want to set a password. I can remove it, or I can change it to another password if I want to. I can just type over it. At that point, I'll click OK. Here's the email that's being generated for this customer. And if I click OK here, off it'll go. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, one of the things I should mention as well, at the very bottom, this email attachment password. This is very interesting because when you're emailing a document to the customer, and you want to have a password protected, the first question the customer may have is, what's the password to open up this document that you sent me? That password is not going to be shown in the email body, right? If I look at this message that I'm sending to the customer, that password is not mentioned here. But I can select this little option to email an attachment password, which basically means that the software is going to send another email, a secondary email that includes the taxpayer's password. That allows the taxpayer to open up they'll know what password to use to open up this document. And since it is a separate email, we've got the one email with that attachment, and then we got the other email with the password. Those two emails allow it to keep in accordance with IRS regulations. We're not, using the same email to show the password. So it really just helps the customer know what password to use. And if we click on this, off it'll go. It may take a few seconds to send that email, but there it goes. So again, a little bit of configuration if you want to set up desktop to use your Gmail to send emails, but I would say worth it. It's not too difficult, especially if you want to establish your own business-related Gmail. It can have the name of the company as an example as part of that email. Then you can just go into those security settings and generate that app password. That's the only piece that's needed to set up email with desktop. But coming back to our PowerPoint here, there are those steps again if we need to review them. And again, keep in mind that this is only for the desktop platform. For those of you that are using the online program, that's already good to go. You just have to enter in the email of the taxpayer that you're sending the email to. That's the only thing. But moving on, let's see what else we have here. taxpassapp.com. Very interesting, this application that we have, or really, I should say it's more of a website at taxpassapp.com. And what this website is, it's essentially an online portal for your customers to send you data that would then be imported into the program. This is both available for CrossLink online and desktop at no additional cost. And the only thing that you would need to do is activate this functionality to have the customer be able to use it. So let's see how we can do that. To set up TaxPass app, these steps vary depending on if you're using desktop or online. I'm going to start with desktop, and then we'll take a look at online. If you are using our desktop platform, this activation to be able to use this TaxPass app website, it does require to log into our what we call the portal, our crosslinktax.com website. Once you're logged in, and we can see a little preview of that up here, once you're logged in, you want to go to the support tab up top and then manage TaxPass. Once you're on that page, you'd want to click on generate your QR code. You'll see your user ID listed there, and you'll click on an option to generate the QR code. This basically like generates your website, your TaxPass app portal, your specific portal. You could also review other options in there to personalize, whether it's adding a logo that will appear on the page, modifying the tax office info that the taxpayer will see when they're using that website. We'll take a closer look at that as well. And then transmit with the software. The desktop program has to receive that you activated the TaxPass app functionality. And to do that, you transmit. Transmit with the desktop program, it'll receive that activation of the TaxPass app, that it'll receive that you've gone in here and activated it. Now, if you've used this in the past, if you've done these steps in the past, the good news is that all this transfers forward year after year, so you don't have to come back in here and reactivate it year after year. You just have to activate it once. So if you've never used this before, feel free, no additional cost. If you have, you don't have to do this piece. You can just move on to using TaxPass app for this season. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a closer look at that piece. Here's that CrossLink Tax website that we're going to use to log in. One of the things I'm doing is I'm using this Authenticator app to get the verification code. I have a lot of them, as you can see here. Oh, maybe I chose the wrong one. One sec. There we go. And then once we're logged in, that was the support tab, manage TaxPass. There it is. In my case, my TaxPass is already activated. So if I scroll, and I got a whole bunch of test accounts here in my demo software. But let me see if I can show you. There you go. This is what it looks like when it's not activated. I know I have a whole bunch of user IDs here, and in most cases, you would only have the one. But you can come in here, click on this little green plus sign under QR code, and that will generate your TaxPass website. There it is. It generates this QR code that you can use to link customers to your website. Pretty useful. It also generates this mobile app ID, which kind of like identifies your TaxPass, your website. It's kind of like a special code that identifies your specific website. Excuse me. And then let me go back. And then one thing I also wanted to mention was TaxPass link. If you want a direct link to this TaxPass website where we're talking about, it's available here. I'll click on that so you can take a look. There it is. And this essentially is if you want to share this link with your customers, you can copy this and share it directly to your customers. And once your customers come in here, they can go in, register to use this website, especially if the taxpayer is brand new. If they've never used this TaxPass app website, they want to register. If they have used it in the past, if they've set up their account already, they can log back in using their same email, same password. And once they log in, the website essentially gives them the ability. It's like almost like a simplified version of a tax return where the taxpayer can go in and fill this out fill out their social, name, birth date, all this basic information that would then transfer into the tax return. That's the benefit of this TaxPass app website, is that the taxpayer is essentially starting the return for you. They're going in here, starting the return, entering their information. They can even attach documents. There's a documents option over here that they can use to attach pictures of W-2s, taxpayer IDs, spouses, all this stuff. And then the very last step would be when they're in the TaxPass website to submit the information. There's a submit button at the bottom that they can use to submit that data. And then when you're in your software, here's an example of how you can retrieve that data. On the work in progress, there's TaxPass retrieval. If you click on this, it'll look to see if any of those, if any customers have sent you data through TaxPass. And there's an example of that Marvin Martin customer that I was just logged into a few moments ago. If I double click on that, I can import that return. There's an example. I'll double click on that. It's asking me if I want to pull information from the prior year. I'm going to skip. I'm going to say no, just because I want to import the TaxPass info. And there it is. Here's an example of like the information that was entered via TaxPass and how it relates to CrossLink. And this is just a very basic example with like, the essential information. You could go more detailed, or the taxpayer, I guess, can go more detailed, entering W-2 information, entering income info that would then transfer into all the appropriate forms. The forms would be auto-added into the return. And then the document archive that we were talking about before, or I think not yet. We're going to be talking about this document archive more fully. But I do want to mention that in the document archive, this archive that stores electronic documents, there will also be any documents that taxpayers sent you via TaxPass. Any of those documents that they attached here under this TaxPass app will appear inside the document archive once you import it into the software. Okay? So a very useful tool if you want to be able to receive information remotely. And the same thing applies with online. You could also, when you're dealing with your returns, let me close this return for now, but when you're looking at your returns, you have the option to import those returns right here. That's right next to the new return button. When you're looking at your tax returns, you have this little arrow to import returns from TaxPass, essentially. That's what that means. All right. Going back into the PowerPoint, yes, so we talked about how to set up TaxPass. We talked about how to import TaxPass as well. Right now, we're just focused on desktop, but once you transmit with the software after activating the TaxPass on the portal, you'll see this TaxPass retrieval option appear. If you're looking at your software and you don't see this TaxPass retrieval option on the work in progress, that means that either you haven't activated TaxPass on the portal or you have not transmitted with the software to pick up that activation of TaxPass. So keep that in mind. That's once you see TaxPass retrieval in there, that's a good clue that you're good to go with TaxPass. So you click on TaxPass retrieval to start the process of importing the return. You click on the return to import it, and then you finish and e-file that return. Those are the steps to working on a return with TaxPass, with desktop specifically. With online, a little bit different. With online, in order to activate this TaxPass, you don't do that on the CrossLink Tax website. Instead, you do that directly on the software, on CrossLink online software. You do that by going to the office settings of the software. We'll take a closer look at that here in a bit, but just as a recap, you go into your office settings and you go to the TaxPass site option. We have a specific option for that TaxPass activation. You click on Generate TaxPass ID, which will be right here. In my case, I already have it activated, so I already have my QR code and stuff like that. But if you're brand new, if you've never done it, you'll have an option there to say Generate TaxPass ID. And then after you generate it, you can add a logo here. You can enter in an email that'll be notified for TaxPass. But I want to point out that you can also use your profile menu when you're in CrossLink Online to access your TaxPass URL, to see the QR code. It's kind of like all contained there to make it easier for you to share that information with your taxpayers. All right. So let me show you that again here. Oh, I don't think I have it open. Let me log into CrossLink Online real quick. Oh, here it is. I knew I had it open. There it is. So I was talking about office settings. That's found on the very bottom left. Once you're in office settings, TaxPass site, there it is right there. And you can upload your logo as well. And then the profile menu piece, if you're outside of office settings and you're dealing with the software, right, with the tax returns or whatever, if you go all the way to the top right, you have your profile menu on the very top right. And within here, you have this TaxPass QR code that you can share, copy if you want, and also TaxPass URL, the specific website to access your TaxPass. Similar to what we saw on the portal when it comes to like pulling information or going straight to that website. Same idea, but here with CrossLink Online, it's found on the portal. I should mention that one of the new things that we have for the desktop software, kind of coming back to the desktop, if if you're in your help menu and about software, we have this TaxPass ID, and this serves as a link as well. So you don't have to log into the portal if you want this specific link. You can go into your software itself, and it was help about software or about CrossLink. You'll see it there. Okay. So let's see what else we have here. We talked about TaxPass, but now let's review PayJunction. If you're not familiar with this is essentially a service that integrates with your CrossLink software, allowing you to capture credit card payments from your customers. And also the way it relates to mobile services, that it allows you to invoice customers remotely, especially those customers that want to pay you directly using or not using a bank product. Let's say they're paying cash or credit or whatever, or with PayJunction, now they can pay with credit. That's what this service is all about. And if you want to start using PayJunction to be able to start accepting credit cards and sending those remote invoices through the software directly so your customers can pay, all you would have to do is sign up to use it. You can speak with your CrossLink account manager if you're interested in this. They'll provide you your own like link to start using this PayJunction service. And then once you start using the PayJunction service, you'll have a login to the PayJunction website. And that's the piece that we'll need in order to connect it to your CrossLink software. Similar how we connected Gmail with desktop. To connect PayJunction with desktop, we would need your PayJunction ID, which you'll have when you establish your PayJunction account, and also the password that you use to kind of like connect with PayJunction, to use PayJunction, that will be entered in the software as well. Okay. And once you obtain those pieces of information, entering it into the software is very easy, and using this PayJunction is overall easy as well. Let's review how to do that. With desktop, when you want to use PayJunction, all you have to do is click on the payments button. You're capturing a payment from the taxpayer, right? There's a payments button in the software specifically for that. When you want to register a payment being made for your office, that's that payments button. And then once you're in payments, notice that we have this PayJunction tab here. That's what you can do to access, or that's where you can go, excuse me, to access the ability to send those remote invoices directly to the customer and be able to, use this to capture that taxpayer's payment. Very simple. Similar process when it comes to online. If you're using our online platform, we have also a payments button. I'm sorry, it's a little bit difficult to see, but it's back there. We have a payments button as part of the tools on the top of CrossLink Online. And then once you click on payments, this payments window opens up, and notice that we have this little PayJunction option at the top there that you can use to send those remote invoices. Same functionality. If you can even go there now if you wanted to take a look at it, but once you click on that option, the first thing it wants to know is what's the PayJunction ID and what's that password we were talking about before. So it does require you to have that PayJunction account, in order to use these, to see and use that functionality. But definitely a good option to expand your, ability to accept payments from your customers. For those customers that don't want to use a bank product, that want to pay directly, a great option to, so that they don't have to pay directly with cash. They can pay using whatever credit card or card they prefer. So that's PayJunction in a nutshell. Let's see what else we have coming up here. Remote and e-signing through the software. This can definitely be a useful tool for capturing signatures electronically, remotely, being able to process the return quickly, because instead of spending time signing here and there and all these different pages, with one signature that the taxpayer does, it takes care of it. Plus all of your signatures for your ERO, for the EFIN holder, pay prepares, all those can be stored in the program, so you don't have to, re-sign for every single return. And I think one of the best things about this is that it helps you meet IRS regulations. It helps you stay in accordance with regulations so that you're not missing, a signature on a technicality. With one signature, you're guaranteeing that all the fields that require that signature are completed, and you can rest assured that you're not missing a thing here or there. When it comes to these signature pads, we have different ways, or excuse me, not when it comes to e-signing, we have different ways to capture signatures. We have Topaz pads you can use. We have Scriptel pads you can use. If you don't have one of these devices, we have your computer's mouse or touchscreen that you can use. So really anyone can be using this functionality right now if you want. You can capture e-signatures at no cost. So if the taxpayer is signing directly in front of you, no additional cost for that. However, remote signs, if the customer wants to be able to sign remotely, that's when there's a $5 fee associated with that will be charged to the office. But now that we have a general understanding of how this works, let's see exactly how to set this up. And I think the first thing you want to do, whether you're desktop or online, is select how you want to use e-signatures, how to select or how to select your signature pad method, essentially. When you go to, here are the instructions, when you go to setup and printer setup in the desktop software, when you're in that printer setup, at the very bottom, you have the option to select how you're going to be capturing electronic signatures with the software. And we have Topaz Pad, Scripto Pad, and on-screen signature. On-screen meaning that you're not using Topaz Scriptel, you're using mouse or touchscreen. That's what that means. Once you select that, your preferred option, click OK, and then you want to log out, log back into the software. When it comes to this selection and the signature pad method or signature method, you need to log out and log back into the desktop program for it to be kind of set in the program. After that, you'll be able to start signing. And then when it comes to the desktop program, once you set your method, it's a good idea to start capturing your signatures, your EFIN holder signature, your tax preparer signature, and having that stored into the system already. And it's also a good way to kind of test out that the signature pad is working as expected, or I keep saying signature pad, the signature method is working as expected. To do that, if you want to start capturing your signatures in the system, let's take a look at that. A good place to go is the database menu, all the way to the top left of the program, of the desktop program still. We have two options there. EF originators, this is good for capturing your EFIN holder. In that EF originators, you should have your EFIN record in there, basically like the EFIN information that populates into the return. So going in there, you'll see a capture signature option for your EFIN record. And then also paid prepares. This is where you can go to store all of the different pay prepares that are working at the office so that their information populates in the return, and each one of your prepares has the ability to sign as well. All right. So let's take a quick look at that just so we can see. One sec. I can do that from here. So we talked about setup, printer setup, and capturing that method. One thing, this is a little bit more extra, but one thing that you may encounter is you have different preparers, different users throughout different computers that have their own method. Maybe you have someone that does have a Topaz pad at the office, but you have someone else that doesn't, someone else working on a different computer that does not have the pad. If that is the case, if you have different methods, this option right here is more of like an overall general system setting. Whatever I set here, that's going to affect everybody that's working at this in the program. However, you can go into your login preferences under Setup Login Account, and in here, every login can have a unique method. If I open up my record in here, the option that we're looking for is this right here, signature pad type. Default means, whatever I have here under setup and printer setup. However, I can change it if I do have a user that is using their specific method. Okay, so that is an option just in case. But most people tend to just do the overall program setting. And then once you have it set, log out, log back in, database, EF originators. There's my couple of EFINs. I can open that up. There's my capture signature. I can click on that and sign. Right now I have it set to use my computer's mouse or touchscreen. Same thing with the preparers. Database, pay preparers, bam, right there, and capture signature for those. It's good to have those in place. That way you don't have to worry about ever having to sign again for anybody that's working at the office. So that is our desktop program, but now let's talk about online. If you're wanting to use online, we have that. Oh, I'm sorry, before we get into online, let's wrap up desktop and talk about how to actually capture a signature from the taxpayer. We talked about the office signatures, but when it comes to the taxpayer, it's all tied to printing. Whether you're printing the final return, printing a specific document, when you choose to print, normally this little print option window appear. And then inside that print option window, there's two buttons that are important. There's the sign doc button. This button is when the taxpayer is signing directly. When they are signing in front of you, they're using your computer's mouse, touchscreen, signature pad. That's when you want to click on sign doc, right? That's the one that doesn't have a fee associated with it. And then there's remote sign right below it. That's when the taxpayer is signing remotely, or when you want the taxpayer or spouse to sign remotely. That would either send the taxpayer a text to have them sign, or an email to have them sign. But keep in mind, if you want to send an email, you have to do that Gmail configuration we were talking about before. But yeah, you can use either one of those methods to capture the signature. And then when it comes to coming back to online, how to set up the online platform to use your signature pad method, well, we support the same methods, but it's accessed a little bit differently. Here with CrossLink Online, by default, the software comes with on-screen signature with a mouse or touchscreen. Same thing nowadays with desktop. With the desktop program, the default is on-screen. However, you can go into your profile menu, that profile menu that we were talking about before, towards the top right. You can go in there and change it if you need to. And then that's it. You click on it. We also have drivers available here if you need to. These drivers for the signature pads, those are specifically for signature pads. If you're using one of those devices, they're available here in CrossLink Online. For CrossLink Desktop, they're available on our portal, on our CrossLink Tax website is where you can find all those drivers for our different signature pads. But if you're using on-screen, don't have to worry about a driver. And then after that, the profile menu is where you can go to capture those signatures as well. You can select under login preferences your preferred method. Again, by default, it comes with mouse or touchscreen. And then if you want to capture those signatures and have those in place for the office, they're found right there in your profile menu as well. Capture ERO signature, that's only for the office owner login, the login that's classified as the office owner. But every preparer will have capture preparer signature in their profile menu. So that's an option as well. And then when it comes to capturing the overall signature, the taxpayer signature, one interesting thing about CrossLink Online is that we have a specific button for that on the toolbar. There's a signatures button. So it's kind of like it's separated from printing a bit. With desktop, it's tied to the printing or PDF generation. With online, there's this own separate button. And then once you click on that, you have a very clear button there to have the taxpayer sign directly. Once you click on this sign button, just like with desktop, you'll have the option capture signature to sign right away using computer's mouse, touchscreen, signature pad, or remote signature to capture the taxpayer's signature remotely via text or email. And again, with CrossLink Online, there's no need to set up a Gmail account. It's already built in, ready to go. All right. So that's electronic signatures with both of our platforms. Let's see now what it comes to paperless record storage. And when we're talking about paperless record storage, we're essentially talking about this tool called the document archive. There's an option inside the return, we kind of saw it briefly before, to manage all your electronic documents within the platform. That's where you want to go to store any electronic documents. That's where you'd want to go to see anything that was sent to you via TaxPass app, any e-documents. And there's also other functionality there as well. Let's take a closer look at that. So here it is. Here's an example of where you can find this document archive within both of our platforms. It's found generally in the same area. We're talking about over to the left of the tax return, document archive, same thing with the online platform. They're found generally in the same place. And I should mention that both softwares are configured to automatically store a prepare copy. Anything that you print, any return that you've printed or created a PDF, your prepare copy will be stored in there automatically. That's overall the software's default setting. You can change that under the printer settings for both softwares if you want, and kind of review these options. And then the document archive is both available in desktop and online, but there are some differences when it comes to features that may be available in one versus the other. And let's point those out right now. Let's go into the desktop software. Let me see what we have in here. So inside the desktop software, inside the document archive, one option, well, let me just give you an overall how to import a document. If we click on import here, this is where we can go to browse for any document that you want to attach to the return and attach it. Let me see if I have something like this. You can attach that, click OK, and there we go. Now we have this document that is attached to the return. That was attached to the document archive, and you can open this up and make reference to it. And then along with that, you have this email functionality. So if there's anything inside the document archive that you want to be able to email directly to the customer, you have an option to click on email and send that to the taxpayer, including any copies that you've created in the past. So it's a very useful button here to be able to send something that you have. If the customer is asking you for a copy of the return or something, you can just go straight into your document archive and click on email, assuming that you have that copy in here, and send that to them. So that email functionality of being able to email that page or document directly to the customer, that one is only available in desktop, this button here. So keep that in mind. That's one of those features that is specific to one platform. Sorry about online users, we don't have that, but we do have something else that I think would interest you. Let me go into my online here. With online, we may not have that email, but we have a request document option. If I go to my document archive here, we have this requested documents option towards the top. And if I go in here, I can click on, there's an example of something I did in the past, but I can click on request documents and basically ask my taxpayer directly to send me something. Whatever I'm looking for. Please send ID, and I'll just go ahead and request that too. I'll say that I'm requesting it from the taxpayer, and it's an ID. And then once I click on this, once I click on request, the taxpayer will be sent an email to attach that document, to send me that information that I'm asking for. It'll be a direct link where the taxpayer can go. They have to fill out some like general information to confirm who they are, their name, their last four of the social, that type of idea. But once they pass that security page, after that, they'll be able to link any document, the document that I'm seeking. And then once they send it, it'll look like this. it'll look like, yeah, completed. It was received, and I can look for that document, or excuse me, I can seek that document out and open it up in my software. So very useful. A nice little direct link where your customers can use to send you data, similar to the way TaxPass app would work, but of sending you information into the return. But it's more direct. The customer doesn't have to go to that website, do all that work, and submit information. Instead, you can just go in here and request it directly. All right. So very, very convenient. Coming back into our PowerPoint, let's see what else we have to discuss today. Very interesting. This one here, this was part, I believe, of our What's New webinar that we had not too long ago. But one of the things that you can look forward to this upcoming season is Zapier integration, or excuse me, Zapier integration. Zapier, for those of you that are unaware, is essentially this tool, this service that allows you to connect your CrossLink software with a whole bunch of other programs that are out there. They claim 7,000 different types of softwares. This is a way for you to make those connections so that when you do something in our software, and that something could be a bunch of things. We'll see some examples here in a bit of the things that you can do. But once you do something in our software, that would automatically notify Zapier, and Zapier would do some sort of action. And that action is what you can establish. You'll set up what that action will be. So let's look at that. Here are some examples of things that occur in the software. Crosslink zaps, they call it. Once one of these actions occur, like a payment being processed, or a remote signature being requested, or the return being e-filed, once you do that action in the software, Zapier will automatically do some sort of action, whether it's emailing the customer or connecting to some sort of platform to do something, or I don't know, make a record on a spreadsheet. Really, there are so many options that it's kind of hard to provide, because Zapier has a whole bunch of different things that you can do to essentially make a process. Consider it almost to be like this virtual assistant that's working in the background. You do something in the software, and then this virtual assistant starts working behind the scenes to do something after that, to follow up or perform some sort of action. So it could definitely help when it comes to processes in your offices to make things more automated, right? Instead of having to manually do things, this service will do it for you. So very, very, very interesting. Something that's new for this upcoming season, and will certainly be expanding year after year. So if you're a single office or single person working in an office and you want to be able to make things more easier for yourself, definitely recommend taking a look at this Zapier application. You can sign up using the link that we see on screen, or speak to your sales representative with CrossLink. They'll be happy to provide more information about this service and be able to provide direct connection to establish your account with Zapier. All right. So very interesting. And also very interesting as well for this upcoming season. Some of you may have already noticed this, but we have this option called Tax Vision Assist in our software now. You'll see with our new software, we have this little button that appears in certain areas in the software. And that button is all about scanning information from some sort of physical document, some sort of ID, and that is all about scanning the information so that it populates within the return. A lot of customers have asked for this functionality. I'm happy to report that now we have this available to you, so to make that process just more streamlined when it comes to completing the return. When it comes to using it, very simple. We click on Vision Assist ID. That'll open up this little window that you can use to import that document, similar to what we saw with the document archive, that you can browse to a document, to an ID, let's say, and import that information into the return where it needs to go. So definitely recommend trying it out. It should be available in your new software. You can use it to scan an ID, and those fields will populate where they need to go. And then Finally, to wrap up the webinar, because I see that we're running a little bit late, I do want to point out as well, when it comes to connecting with your customers and keeping in contact with them, keeping organized for this season, we do have a digital marketing kit available on our website, on the portal. If you were to log in, as we saw, you want to go to that support tab that we saw before, but this time the digital marketing kit, where you can review this calendar and kit that we have that you can customize to your business via the use of Canva, and be able to, seek information and templates that allow you to just keep in touch with your customers, be able to have templates for your emails, for flyers, just overall run your business easier with some help from us, some information that we put together for you to help run your tax business more successfully this year. But with that said, I believe we've covered all of the extra features that we have available to you for this upcoming season. And now, happy to review any questions that you may have moving forward. But before that, thank you again for your time and attention. I know we went a little bit long today, but we had lots to cover.